All right. Well, good Monday evening, South Carolina weather watchers. I am your meteorologist, Joseph Peterson, and we have some weather to go on and talk about as we move into tonight. As you can see by the title right now, South Carolina's hottest days come before big storm threat takes over. And I really do believe that that is the case. And we're going to get over and talk about why in just a moment. But before we get into that, what's on tap for tonight? Hot and humid with highs mid upper 90s. Heat in the seas 105 to 114 degrees possible as we move over into tomorrow and also on Wednesday. Isolated to scattered strong slash severe storms possible Tuesday afternoon into the evening into early Wednesday, and a front moves through Wednesday with cooler conditions possible with rain chances returning as we go into this weekend. So a lot of things to go on and talk about, a lot of things to go on and break down. And as always, if you have not hit the like button yet, please go on and do so. We've had 5 people so far tune in tonight, and we only have 3 likes. Also, make sure that you go and hit the subscribe button. We're at 782, trying to get to that main goal of 800. Also, share with your friends, your family members, your acquaintances, people that you don't talk to regularly, as it's free. It always will be free, and it does no harm, and it takes like 2 seconds to do. Just hit the share button, share it with all the people that you know, share it with, as many people as you want, and I get an extra subscriber, better content will come out, and just overall, it's beneficial to everybody. So, what's currently going on? Well, live radar wise, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning going on right now near Orangeburg, Bamberg. This includes areas like South Carolina State, going over towards Claflin University, those areas, getting in on for some 60-mile-per-hour winds. That's moving its way down towards Cope, Roseville, 66, down towards Bamberg and Branchville. So those areas need to be watching out for some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts over the next 30 minutes or so. Now, everybody else overall, we're looking pretty good. Have some rainfall just to the south of Aiken towards New Ellington. Also, just to the east of Kingstree, we have some rain moving down South Carolina Highway 512 and moving towards 261, about to go towards Andrews, as Andrews even receiving some light shower activity right now. But overall, I mean, most of us mostly dry. Now, as we go in and take a look at what's going on throughout the entire U.S., I mean, overall, there was severe weather mayhem going on over there inside the Midwest from Illinois to Indiana to Wisconsin to Michigan to Ohio, now moving into Kentucky. I mean, overall, we've just been having severe weather activity moving throughout these areas up here inside the Midwest. We have some more rainfall with even maybe some more severe weather moving into areas of the Northeast. We have some more storm activity with some more severe weather in the central West. And then as you move towards the Four Corners area, more severe weather potentially possible, and even some flash flooding could potentially be a potential issue. Now, in terms of cloud cover, we're looking at honestly mostly cloudy skies. I mean, you're looking up in the upstate, I see a little bit of a haze up there, but I start to see more of that heavier, more dense cloud cover as we move more into the low country and into the southern Midlands. Now, if you look up there towards like the PD, the Grand Strand, also kind of like a little hazy, but overall not as bad. And if we go in and take a look at that cloud cover for the future, if I go in and push this back over towards the 18Z real quick, moving this forward, one thing that you can see is that cloud cover as we move into tomorrow morning, it does definitely get a lot more condensed, a lot more widespread, and starts to spread out even into like the afternoon hours. Now, once we get into like the later afternoon hours, things kind of calm down, and actually we start to see maybe some clearing a little bit as we move later on into the evening. But then as we get more into like the overnight hours, I think that cloud cover will start to pick back up. And then as we get into Wednesday morning here, going into Wednesday afternoon, cloud cover again starting to be a main concern. Now, as we go over into our current temperatures right now, we're talking about 84 Summerville, 85 Charleston, even 87 in Beaufort, 84 Georgetown, and 82 in Myrtle Beach, 82 Conway, and 88 in Columbia, 86 Newberry, Lawrence, even 86 in Greenville, Spartanburg, Gaffney, York, and also inside of Rock Hill. Now, for our air quality, as we move over into tonight, it looks like that the majority of us are included inside of a moderate risk of air quality for tonight. Now, what does that mean? Not too good, not too bad, but overall, if you're in these yellow areas and you're outside for a long period of time tonight, just make sure that you're paying attention to that air quality. Now, if you're not in the yellow, I see areas like maybe Rock Hill going in over towards Myrtle Beach, over in like Georgetown, maybe into the more inland Horry County areas and Georgetown County areas. You can see that you are not necessarily inside of that moderate risk. You're in the good risk, so no bad air quality for you for tonight. Now, what about for our low temperatures? Well, we're talking about 70s and maybe even some 80s, like 81 in Hilton Head Island, 78 in Charleston, 76 Myrtle Beach, 73 Columbia, Sumter, even 72 in Florence, Camden, 71 Newberry, and Spartanburg, 72 in Greenville. High temperatures for tomorrow, 95 Greenville, 94 Spartanburg, even 97 up there in Columbia, 98 in Walterboro, 97 in Moncks Corner, even 96 in Hilton Head Island, 94 in Charleston, and 94 in Georgetown. Now, as we go into our heat index values for tomorrow, it does look like that a lot of us will continue to be hot. All the way up into the hundreds for almost, if not everybody tomorrow. We all will receive some heat index values that are above 100 degrees. You see 105 in Greenville, 107 in Orangeburg, 107 in Walterboro, 111 in Charleston, even 112 in Hilton Head Island, 107 over there inside of Myrtle Beach. So it's going to be hot no matter where you are. Hottest though in the low country and the Grand Strand areas. That's definitely what you see as you move over into tomorrow. Now, for our rainfall for the next 24 hours, you see maybe a good 100th of an inch to a 10th of an inch in areas like Anderson, Spartanburg, Greenwood, going over towards Newberry, maybe even Moncks Corner. 10th of an inch to a quarter of an inch going into areas like Florence, going over into Chirra. And then maybe even a quarter of an inch to a half an inch for a lot of other areas as well over there near Chirra as well. So rainfall wise, we're looking not the maybe not the best in terms of a drought busting, getting the rainfall out like we have been seeing for the past couple of days. But that's the thing though with these storms and with these summer storms. With these summer storms, what we usually get is a couple of storms that may overperform and could produce an inch or two of rainfall for some areas. So hopefully that's what happens in some of those drought riddled areas, and maybe some of these areas may overperform, some might underperform, and as you can see, there are some areas in the next 24 hours that may not see a drop of rainfall. So that's just something to keep in mind as we move throughout the next 24 hours, according to the National Weather Service. Now, the SPC outlook, isolated severe storms possible, and I mean, we have one severe storm right now moving down towards Bamberg right now as we speak, and honestly, I mean, for right now, it's performing. We've seen some storm damage for today, so I say that we definitely did perform okay for today. Definitely not like a full on bust straight up, but I mean, we definitely still have more time. But for right now, I'm not calling today a failure in terms of verification of this marginal risk of severe weather here. Now, for this marginal risk of severe weather, in terms of the actual official hazards for it, damaging winds obviously being the main one, and that was it. Damaging winds was only the main threat that we were watching, and we did see some strong storms move in today with 50-mile-per-hour winds, like over there towards Aiken, and then also over there into some other parts of the eastern part of the state. But I mean, overall, I mean, definitely was not an underperformance for today for just a marginal risk of severe weather. Now, for tomorrow, things start to shift. We have a slight risk of severe weather that takes over the entire upstate, over into the northern Midlands, over inside the PD areas, over inside the Grand Strand areas. And overall, these areas do continue. These areas do continue to kind of just show that risk of damaging winds. That's number one. And another risk that we also have to take into account is the hail risk. The hail risk, because, for example, if I go in and show this real quick, let's see if this even works. It does work. This is the hail threat right here for tomorrow. And you can see a 5% risk of hail over there in Greenville, Spartanburg. You see up there inside of like Gaffney. You see over there in like the northern York counties, northern Spartanburg, Greenville counties. There's a 15% risk of damaging hail. And not only is hail and wind the only threats, but what about tornadoes? Because guess what? Tornadoes is also possible. Tornadoes possible over there in the Horry County areas like Conway, going over towards Loris, going over just to the north and east of Florence, and then moving also over there into Marlborough County. So if you're in that 2% risk or that green risk, you have a 2% risk of tornadoes as you move over into tomorrow. Now, obviously, we know the main one, damaging winds, but damaging winds has a bit more of a stronger play than we may think. Looking at red area, Spartanburg, Rock Hill, moving over into the northern parts of the PD areas, that's a 30% chance of damaging winds over a given point up there inside of the red areas up there. And then if you're in the yellow, that's a 15% risk. If you're in the brown, that's a 5% risk. So overall, we are continuing to see kind of just that risk of damaging winds maybe be definitely be the strongest factor, but may increase a little bit as we go over into tomorrow. I mean, will it produce an enhanced risk? For it to be an enhanced risk, I believe it needs to be hatched. So will it be hatched? I don't know, too much about that. But one thing that I do know is that, this is one of the bigger ones that we've seen so far in terms of damaging wind risk up there in the northern parts of the state. So please make sure that you're paying attention tomorrow for these risks right here. And the timing seems to be more in the afternoon, the evening, maybe even going into the overnight for some people. Now for day 3, Wednesday, we look good. Just thunderstorm activity, regular thunderstorm activity, nothing too bad there. And then in terms of excessive rainfall is also an area of interest to watch for. This is tomorrow going into Wednesday morning. Isolated flash flooding is possible over here near the Sumter National Forest towards Mountain Rest, Rocky Bottom, and moving towards the Mountain Bridge Wilderness area. Those areas have an isolated risk of some flash flooding. And then day 3, this goes into Wednesday going into Thursday morning. Look over here in the low country from North Charleston to Charleston through Walterboro, Hampton, Sylvania, through Springfield. Oh, that's inside of Georgia. Never mind, Sylvania and Springfield's in Georgia. But, I mean, technically they are included inside the risk down there into Savannah. Beaufort, Ridgeland, over towards Hilton Head Island. Those areas do have a risk of flash flooding as we move over into Wednesday, moving into Thursday morning. So we're not, overall, we're not done with the flash flooding risk, even though it's definitely not going to be as widespread as we have been seeing it for the past couple of days and, last weekend. But it is going to be something still to watch for, as over here on the South Carolina Weather Channel, we take every risk seriously. Doesn't matter if it's a 5% risk, a 2% risk, or a 0.001% risk. We take every risk seriously. Now, the crazy score, currently, really the only thing that's carrying this score all the way up is the severe thunderstorm warning, 22 points added on to it. And so we're at a 27 for tonight, inside that mild category. And I expect it to go down whenever this severe weather threat really starts to calm down. And we may get down, below 5 tonight. We could get down below 5, even though, there is some cloud cover going on in some of these areas. So that's something just to watch for as we move later on. Now, as we go on and take a look over at the models, time is at the bottom part of your screen. Please make sure that you go on and pay attention to that, as that is very, very important to do so. We start off here at 8 o'clock p.m., and as we go on and move this forward into tonight, that shower, that storm activity, it moves away, it moves out. We're good by like 1 a.m. Things kind of just continue its way through, and as we get to around maybe, 9, 10 a.m., you could see some shower and some, just some morning drizzle activity, some morning shower activity going over into the upstate early in the morning tomorrow. It's possible. And then even as you move into the afternoon, it could continue to move its way down towards the south and east. Now, you may be asking, well, I mean, this is tomorrow. Where is tomorrow's severe weather threat? Well, let me show you right here. This is 4 p.m., 5 p.m., going all the way to 7 p.m. We have storms moving throughout North Carolina, moving throughout those southern portions towards Charlotte, moving over into areas just to the south and east of Charlotte at around like 6 o'clock p.m., 7 o'clock p.m. or so. That's going to produce potentially some damaging winds, some hail, maybe. Well, I don't know if a tornado threat is over there that far west, but it is definitely possible for damaging winds to occur. And as you go all the way to 8, 9 o'clock p.m., over here inside of the state, we're starting to see a lot of that shower and that storm activity move into the state of South Carolina by around 8 p.m., 9 p.m., all the way through to 10, 11 p.m. And now we're starting to look for some more storm activity to kind of move its way down towards the south and east, not only throughout that 30% risk of damaging winds, but throughout the PD areas, throughout the Midland areas, even trying to get into the low country areas by around, this is around 12 a.m. or so. And watch out, look at how widespread the storm activity is, especially in the PE areas, the Midland areas as well. We move forward to around like 2 a.m. on Wednesday, moving through to 4 a.m. on Wednesday here. And now we're even looking at some more severe thunderstorm activity throughout the Midlands, throughout the low country areas. And it actually looks like it could produce, again, some gusty, strong, maybe even some damaging winds in a lot of these very lower areas by around 4 or 5 a.m. going into Wednesday. And then as we go over into Wednesday, like late morning going into the early afternoon, we start to see some more rainfall activity that goes in from the upstate over into the Midlands, over inside of the PD, low country areas. I mean, this is, again, more morning convection as we move into Wednesday morning going into Wednesday afternoon. So a lot of things kind of go into play here as we move over into Wednesday and just the next 48 hours in general. Now, how much rainfall could we potentially receive over the next 48 hours? Well, obviously, not everyone's going to see rainfall. In fact, there's going to be a lot of areas that receive less than a tenth of an inch. But with these storms, like I always say, some of them could overperform, some of them could be pretty good. And with those precipitable water values, trying to get to an inch or two, some areas could see an inch or two of rainfall as we move throughout the next 48 hours. So, not much. And I assume that is why they don't really have too much of a excessive rainfall outlook for us. It's just because you're not really seeing too much rainfall just throughout a big area, not only number one, but also number two. This is also just one model run. And so, I mean, that's not really going to be a whole lot. And it may not even fall all at once. Like, if you go in and take a look at the 6 hour totals here, I mean, yeah, maybe like an inch or so of rainfall over about 6 hours. That could, produce maybe some minor flooding or so, but that's not really enough to be really flash flooding material. So, I kind of see why they don't really have that threat there. But as you move over into like the upstate they do see that risk over there though. But that's pretty much all I have to say here in terms of our risk of severe weather and excessive rainfall as we move over into Tuesday. But what happens if we go into our long-term future? I have a lot of stuff to kind of get over here because if we go all the way into Wednesday, let's say around 8 o'clock in the morning, we push this forward, and actually we can go even further than that. What about the 18Z? Yeah, we can go even more forward than that, all the way to 2 p.m. on Wednesday. We go on and push this forward, and look how much rainfall we start to see going into Wednesday, evening, going into Wednesday night. We move over into Thursday morning, going to Thursday afternoon. Again, things kind of calm down. And you don't really see much going into Thursday. Friday comes along as well. And again, you don't really see too much going into Friday. And you might be asking, well, why is it that Monday and Tuesday look so active? But then as we move more into like, maybe Wednesday, later on going into Thursday and Friday, why aren't things looking so active there? Well, it is mainly because that cold front that we just received, not the one that we received, a couple of days ago. I'm talking about the one that we will receive going into Wednesday, going to Wednesday night. That cold front's going to bring some drier air, and when it brings drier air, it's going to keep us from being riddled with rain as we move throughout, mainly that Thursday, Friday time frame. Because, I mean, Wednesday, like I said, Wednesday could definitely see some rainfall, and you see some going throughout the low country areas, but it's not as widespread. Thursday, though, going into Friday, things finally start to get a little bit more active there. So, Thursday and Friday kind of seem like they're the more drier days of the week here, just due to that cooler and that drier air moving in. Now, as we move over into Saturday, we have another big storm system kind of moving in. That could potentially produce some severe weather. That could also potentially produce some isolated flash flooding later on in the week. And then maybe even moving on into Monday. So, a lot of things kind of to go over there. Now, when I say isolated flash flooding potentially as we move later on, this is the risk or this is the GFS here as we move over into, this goes into Monday here. Mondays for like the past 24 hours, you see maybe like an inch or so of rainfall over about a 24-hour span. I mean, again, not really that much. If you go throughout 12 hours, see about 1.6. We go even, let's say, like 6 hours, maybe an inch or so. But I mean, overall, you're not really seeing too much in terms of like major flooding. Once again, some areas may get around an inch and a half or so over a 3 hour time span. But I mean, that's not really doing much there in terms of major flash flooding. So excessive rainfall could be a potential issue for some spots later on down the line. But I'm not really too concerned with that as we move into this weekend, though. But I think it is there. I think it definitely is there. And then obviously for when it comes to the ingredients for severe weather as well, we know as we move over into Saturday comes along, brings in some of those dew points, pretty high. Brings some of those dew points up into the 70s, the high 60s. We go over and look at the winds up in the upper atmosphere to see if there's any rotation. And as we move over into around Saturday or so, you can see, we do have some rotation kind of going. It's not a lot, again, so maybe not too much of a tornado threat, but you kind of see some going on. But one main thing is cape levels. Cape levels is pretty showing to be kind of high as we move over into Saturday. Some areas getting close to 2,000 joules per kilogram or so as we move later on, and brings a marginal severe rating there. So not really, like a slight risk of severe weather or an enhanced risk. Kind of just shows like a marginal risk, some isolated severe storms possible as we move later on into Saturday going into Sunday, maybe. So overall, things just look uncertain as we move over into this weekend here. Seeing what's going to happen with this next storm system. It doesn't really look the worst. Like I said, flooding wise, doesn't really look the worst. Just in terms of severe weather, it doesn't really look too bad either. So we'll keep an eye on it, but I'm not really too worried about this one. Now, as we go on and take a look into our future, so past this weekend going over into next week, we're looking at some more rainfall potential as we move into midweek of next week, and then moving on past that, just looks like regular summer activity with more active conditions moving into mid-August. Now, how much rainfall could we potentially receive over the next 384 hours? Well, according to the GEFS, barely 2 inches for a lot of us. We see maybe 2 inches in Greenville, but maybe an inch or 1.7 inches of rainfall in Anderson, 1.9 in Columbia, 1.8 over there near Florence, 2 inches though in Charleston, maybe even some areas close to 3 inches as you move later on into the mid-August mark. But again, it's not really all that interesting, not really all that concerning. And then if you move over towards the European model, this one also doesn't really show too much in terms of really just in terms of heavy rainfall activity here. So that's pretty much all that I have to say here for the actual ensemble models here. Now, as we go on and take a look at our temperatures for the future, we move this over, and we know as we move into Tuesday, we know as we move over into Wednesday, things kind of just overall make its way out. That warmer air tries to make its way out as you move later on into Wednesday, and then Thursday comes along, stays cool. Friday goes along, also keeping its cool as well. And then as we move over into Saturday and Sunday, again, it stays pretty cool due to another cold front trying to move in as we move into Sunday. And one thing that we can look at real quick from when it does come to these temperatures is what the pattern looks like. Because if we move all the way, remember time's at the top right corner of your screen this time, we move into the 28th, going to the 29th, we know, we're looking a bit more active. You see this kind of dip that we have here. This is the trough. The low pressure is right here. It's going to bring us some severe weather activity in between, kind of like in this aspect right there. That's gonna be where our severe weather zone is as we move over into tomorrow and then into Wednesday, early Wednesday as well. And so if you move into Wednesday, moving on into Thursday and Friday, you see another dip or another indent there in terms of the actual upper levels here. And that's another low pressure that we're starting to see. That's Saturday and Sunday's risk of severe weather or excessive rainfall potentially as we move over. And then as we go over into like the next couple of days, you're going to see it start to shift its way over towards the east, and that's going to bring us some more severe weather potential there. And then we start to get a high pressure, we start to get warm, we start to see a lot more warmer, more drier conditions. But as we move later on into like maybe the 10th, going into the 9th, the 10th, the 11th of August, another area of interest may be starting to pop up here later on. And even if we go on and look at precipitation, you can see how much precipitation that brings to us down there inside of South Carolina. So more activity, maybe another cold front, maybe some more activity for when it comes to the weather later on into the 10th, which is actually 2 weeks on the dot from now. So that's pretty much all I have to say here in terms of the pattern. But let's go back real quick to the actual ensembles here and the anomalies for temperatures. We're going to go back here to the GFS, and just as you know, we move throughout the week. We're going to be warmer than average tomorrow, maybe probably going into Wednesday as well. But then as we move over into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, things start to definitely cool down for us. Now, as you move into early next week, still, not the hottest. It's not really until we get to around Tuesday to where we start warming up a little bit, even into Wednesday and Thursday. And then as we move into the weekend after, next weekend, again, more warmer conditions there. But cooler conditions also do continue to kind of move its way in later on into mid-August. So there's a lot of flip-flop going on here. There's a lot of flip-flop going on here between temperatures, but that's just due to the amount of troughs that we have digging into the eastern U.S. that's going to cause us some active conditions. Now, what's currently going on in terms of our actual temperatures themselves? Well, we move over into Monday, we move over into, Tuesday. We know it's going to look warmer up into the hundreds. Wednesday even looks pretty warm as well. But then as we move over into Thursday and Friday, yeah, we're still going to be in the 90s. We're still going to be in the 90s. It's summertime. We know that that's going to happen. This is, and I already kind of said last night that this cool down that we get during the middle parts of the week, it's not really going to be the most, active here, and not really going to be the strongest. So I'm not really too shocked that, we kind of stay a bit warmer. Then as we move over, though, into Saturday, going over into Sunday, we start to finally start to see those temperatures start to drop into like the mid to upper 80s, maybe the lower 90s as you move into Sunday. And overall, things look a lot cooler. But don't worry, those temperatures will be back up into the hundreds going into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week. And things already just continue to just stay right back up. Now, as we move over into our actual heat index value, so this moves over into Monday and Tuesday. We know in Wednesday, we're all the way up into the 110, 114 degree values as we move into tomorrow and Wednesday. But then as we go over past Thursday, going into Friday we're up, not much, but Sunday, we're kind of just in that mid 90s range. And then as we move into midweek next week, we're back up into the 100 degree range or so. And so as we move around 200 hours out, the actual deterministic model, the model I just showed you earlier, gets a bit unreliable. So we're just going to go on and take a look at the ensemble. So this is the mean of the temperatures put together. And one thing I will say as a pattern aspect here, we move through Tuesday the 5th and moving forward, it kind of looks like that those temperatures like to average in that mid to upper 90s range as we move later on into mid-August. So doesn't really like the whole idea of a major cool down moving in. From the GEFS's standpoint. And that's pretty much all they have to say there in terms of the official and the main part of the forecast for tonight. So overall, covered everything. Nothing going on in terms of the tropics. Nothing going on in terms of any earthquakes, occurring towards the state today. And overall, I think that is about all that I have to say there in terms of the main forecast, like I said. So we're going to go on real quick and talk with the audience. If you want to be a part of the audience, you can by joining us here at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Let's see what the audience has to say for tonight. Starting off with my Aunt Lula first. She says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. Hopefully everyone had a blessed day. Well, thank you so much for that. And then that says, good evening, just from the 360 Weather family. I trust all is well with everyone. It was another really hot day here in Central Texas. It was 96 degrees here with no cloud cover. I'm afraid there is no relief in sight from all this heat. Yeah, I'm not even going to lie. You don't really look the best for when it comes to heat for the future for you over there in San Antonio. Then my Lou says today's high in Georgetown was 86. Feels like 91 currently. It's 80 degrees. We said today's high was 86. It felt like 91. Currently, it's 80. Okay, I get it. Well, at my house currently, it does seem like that we, at my house at least, are receiving current temperatures of 82. Feels like 92 right now. And the high temperature for today was 89. So I think it was a bit lower I have to go back and check and see what I forecasted originally for my location, but I think that's a bit lower than what I was thinking. Then Maya Lou says, we had a beautiful day today, a little cloud cover, but it was a great day overall. The small shower we did have a few days ago helped my garden a lot. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Then Trail says, greetings everyone, greetings to you. And that's all that I can see here throughout the chat right now. So we're going to go on right now and do the top fan question of the night for tonight. And I just want to start off by saying, I got a text message, and it was from Thad. I saw your text message. And I see the error that you're talking about, and it's kind of weird because I just tested that out the other day and it worked fine. So I'm gonna test it out again sometime while I'm talking about the forecast for the 4 areas and see if it works, see if it's broke, because when I tested it, it was fine, but I might check it out. But what I was gonna do was whoever the first person was that sent in a photo to the scweather360.com account at the end, so where it says submit photos, you would go on and win it for whatever night that you did. And so Thad was the only one that had direct documentation of him actually trying to send something in. So I don't know if anybody else did try to send something in, if it was actually broken, because like I said, last time that I tried it, it didn't, I mean, it worked fine. It sent directly to my email. I'm going to have to figure that out because I think in about, yeah, I should be able to fix that soon or figure that out if it's not working right now currently. But I will see what happens. But technically, I guess since that technically you were the first and you did send in a picture tonight, I have no choice but to go on and give you the top fan of the night for tonight. No question for tonight, just whoever was to go on and send it in first. And he also did send in a picture, so I'll give it to you. Again, if you want to be like that and win the top fan of the night for tonight, you can by joining us here at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, being a subscriber, and also sending stuff in, because you never know what day I might go on and choose that to be the topic, or I can ask a question from the beginning to the end of the forecast that could also go on and be a potential answer that you may want to pay attention to. So you also have to pay attention, and also just being active. Sometimes I may also choose who was here first tonight. So a lot of things kind of go into play there. But that's all I have to say here in terms of the audience. If you want to send something in the audience, you still can. And if you want to send me in a picture, you should be able to at scweather360.com. I'm about to check that out in just a moment. But then if it doesn't work, you can also just send it in at scweather360.com. Again, that is scweather360.com. And then right now, it does seem like that is all there. So we're going to go in and talk about the 4 areas outside of South Carolina. You might be asking, 4 areas? What am I talking about? I'm talking about San Antonio, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as well as Duncan, Oklahoma. The reason why we talk about these 4 areas because we have people from these areas to tune in almost nightly, and because they tune in almost nightly, we're going to give them their forecast for them. So we're going to start off with San Antonio first. You have low temperatures tonight at 76, high temperatures for tomorrow at 99, low temperatures tomorrow night at 77, and like you said, you're not going to see any relief. In fact, it's going to only get hotter. It's going to only get hotter. And, when I say only get hotter, I mean technically high temperature-wise it is, but also something that I think a lot of people may not, recognize is those low temperatures. Those low temperatures, like, for example, tonight, 76. Going into the weekend there, you're going to have a low temperature of 82 on Saturday night. Like, that is no relief at all. No relief at all. And then also, whatever the humidity is as well at that time is as well, can make it even hotter. Yeah, it's not going to be a fun time. AC is going to be running like all night, all day. Power bills are going to go up. It's going to be a lot of power usage there. So make sure you keep that in mind, and, no severe weather, no excessive rainfall, no precipitation. So you're kind of just stuck there with the hot, dry swamp that is inside of San Antonio right now. Now, as we move over into Raleigh, you have low temperatures tonight at 70, high temperatures for tomorrow at 91, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 71. No precipitation tonight, but tomorrow showers are likely, and then tomorrow night showers again are likely once again. Now, in terms of severe weather, you do have a risk of severe weather. You have a 5% chance of tornadoes, a 30% chance of damaging winds, and a 15% risk of damaging hail going over into tomorrow. So you do have a risk of severe weather for tomorrow. All hazards are possible. All hazards are possible, even flash flooding. Yes, isolated flash flooding of up to with that 5% risk of excessive rainfall is there. So that's something also to keep an eye on. Now, in terms of your future temperature-wise, you're going to actually drop. You're actually going to drop down to the 80s or so as you move later on to like Saturday. But then Sunday, you're going to be up into the 90s. Even on Monday, you're going to be into the mid-80s or so of next week. So, you're kind of just going to be jumping around from 80 to 90, and that's just due to the cooler air that we're going to have over here. And then as we move over into Philadelphia, you have low temperatures tonight at 69, high temperatures for tomorrow at 81, low temperatures tomorrow night at 67, chance of thunderstorms for tonight. Then tomorrow, thunderstorms are expected. In terms of severe weather and excessive rainfall, isolated severe weather or isolated damaging gusts of up to 60 miles per hour is possible for tonight. That's why they just issued that special or that mesoscale discussion over there. Only a 5% risk, but the threat of locally damaging wind may continue through dusk over there inside of your area. So you may see it, you may not. Things, possible over there. And then for your future, as you move over into tomorrow, you have another risk of severe weather, but this time you have a 2% risk of tornadoes, a 15% risk of damaging winds, and then no risk of hail. So you actually have almost all hazard. You just need hail to be included in there. Now, for your excessive rainfall outlook, you do have a scattered flash flooding risk for tomorrow, and then an isolated flash flood risk on Wednesdays of this week. So all things are kind of taken into account there, except for hail, pretty much. And then for your future, looks like you will continue to be up into the 80s or so. Not really going to get too much into the 90s. You're going to kind of just stay in that 80-degree range, and you're going to stay active all the way through until you get to around Friday, going into Saturday, drying out during that time period. But as you get into next week through Sunday, Monday, you get back up once again. And then finally for Duncan, Oklahoma, you have low temperatures tonight at 76, high temperatures for tomorrow at 103, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 77. No precipitation tonight. Tomorrow night you look good. No precipitation is expected. Going to continue to stay hot, just like San Antonio, if not even hotter. But those low temperatures won't be as bad, though. I will say that. And then no severe weather, no excessive rainfall. You're good there. And that's all that I can say here throughout those 4 areas. So I'm going to go on real quick and see what's going on throughout the entire U.S. weather news-wise. Well, it seems extreme heat continues today from the Central Plains to the lower Mississippi Valley and over southeastern Montana. Then also Southern California, the southwestern deserts, all of those areas, extreme heat. Severe thunderstorms capable of strong and severe wind gusts and large hail are possible across the Great Lakes into the Ohio Valley today and tonight. And then also our risk of severe weather for tomorrow. Risk of severe weather over here for the Mid-Atlantic going down to the Carolinas and into the Tennessee Valley tomorrow. And then Wednesday, things calm down there. But also, another thing is flash flooding in New York City. That's going to be another area of concern tomorrow. New York City has a 40% risk of flash flooding for tomorrow. So guaranteed, at least one person here, if not 2 or 3, will see something about flash flooding in New York on their phones or something, or videos, or wherever it may be, just due to the magnitude of it. And then we did have some storm reports in South Carolina today as well. We had 2 reports of trees being down over there inside of Richland County, right there just to the west of Columbia. And then overall, the severe thunderstorm warning that we had over here inside of Orangeburg kind of died out. No longer there anymore, and it's gone. Is there any special weather statement for it? No. So that's done with. We did just get some beach hazard statements though over there in the eastern parts of the state, but overall that's about it over here in the state. And then I just tested it out as well, and of course, it did not work. So that's fun how I tested it out a couple of days ago and it worked, and then a couple of days go by and it doesn't work anymore. So that's fantastic. So hopefully I can get that fixed soon. And then Dad sent me an email. I don't see a picture attached to it though, so I don't know if that was a mistake. He says it was pretty hot today here in Central Texas, but like I said, I don't see a picture with it at all. So it's just text. So if you do have a picture with it, go ahead and send that over. We'll go on and show that tomorrow. But that's all. I'll be back tomorrow morning for your Tuesday morning forecast update. Make sure that you tune in tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock p.m. for your Tuesday evening forecast update. There may be a couple of days later on this week that I may not be here. I'll let you know the dates later on. I know Thursday for sure I probably will not be here. Friday potentially as well. So, we'll keep an eye out. We'll see what happens there. But a couple of days this week I may not be here during the evening time frame. And that's all. So hit those two buttons before you leave: like button, subscribe button, share button. We're almost there. We're about 18 subscribers away from 800 subscribers. I mean, right now, 18. Yes, 18 subscribers away. So please hit the subscribe button so we can go in and get to that goal. I'll be here tomorrow morning and tomorrow evening for your Tuesday forecast update. Hit those two buttons before you leave if you're new.